Hey y'all, it's Bart. Welcome to another episode of Soccer for Us Down Under. I apologize, this one took a little time to get out. I am recapping the USA Netherlands game, but after that game, it was obviously a little bit of a late night here. Um, Breaking down with the friend group that I'm traveling with what exactly happened during the game, but then the next day took off and hiked around the Wellington area. So, needless to say, been enjoying my time here in New Zealand and trying to enjoy all that this country, really the city of Wellington, has to offer. But yeah, breaking down, recapping, giving my thoughts on the USA Netherlands 1-1 draw here in Wellington, New Zealand on Thursday, July 27th. Personally, I just think I have to just say that first off, I had a blast. I've loved every minute of the day, even past the final whistle. I know it was frustrating for a lot of people to watch at home. I get that it's frustrating to not watch the U.S. women win when we're so accustomed to doing so, but it's just another feeling and level entirely of being able to watch your team at a World Cup, and it's kind of hard for me personally to be super upset when I got to experience that blessing and have so much fun with the friends that I have through soccer, with the American Outlaws, with just everyone involved in the day that made it such a special event. I mean, going from the pregame party, which started very early in the morning, it was a 1 p.m. kickoff here. Started at like 9 a.m. I think we got into the bar, and then started the march around 11:30. Marched from the bar, which is at the south end of the harbor, all the way up to the stadium, Sky Stadium, or I should say Wellington Regional Stadium as they refer to it here, with the sponsorship removed from the stadium name. Weird FIFA regulations. So Wellington Regional Stadium. It was a very fun march, very cold and blustery though, marching along the shore of the Wellington Harbor here. Beautiful march, but very, very cold. Marching into the stadium, always just such a surreal experience when it comes to World Cup football. It really does bring you to another sense of pride for your team, pride for your country. A very otherworldly experience, truly, and I'm blessed to have been able to do this several times as a U.S. fan. Wellington Regional Stadium, also known as the Cake Tin here, because it does very much resemble a cake tin. It's a very round stadium. It holds about 37,000, and unfortunately, not that full. That was kind of the surprise. I think I chalked that up a little bit to the fact that it was a 1 p.m. kickoff on a Thursday, so it was very full of U.S. fans and Netherlands fans. I got several texts from people throughout the day saying that the stadium is very loud on the broadcast, which is great, but it wasn't as full as I would have thought it would have been, which is a little surprising, but I think that it lacked some of the local support and turnout because of, like I said, the 1 p.m. kickoff on a weekday. That doesn't really lend itself to a lot of locals coming. And Wellington is also the stadium and the city that's hosted and will host the most matches during this World Cup. So they've had a lot to go to. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in my next episode when I break down the other game that I went to in Wellington. But yeah, it was full of U.S. fans. Had little pockets of big cheering groups throughout the stadium. A lot of Netherlands fans. The Netherlands always has great support. I think the Dutch travel incredibly well, especially to these Women's World Cups. And it was a very, very cool vibe to have two sets of kind of competing fan bases, loud and proud in the stadium. That is what makes the World Cup such a unique and wonderful atmosphere. That really is not. We get it sometimes in CONCACAF with, the Gold Cup always having, a lot of fans coming out. But really, outside of maybe the Euros, the World Cup gives us to us more than anything else. And again, it's kind of two different types of fans, right? The U.S. fans and the Netherlands fans, very different. The U.S. are very loud, very I will say this in a good way, obnoxious. We are constantly chanting, constantly supporting our team. Some of the European fans a little more relaxed and calm and ready to cheer when things happen. But again, great turnout from both countries. Unfortunately, just not getting that local turnout. It was about 20, I think that's a 29,000 on the day. Very cool. Wellington Regional Stadium, not the greatest stadium I've ever been to. Again, it's pretty much a big circle with the field plopped in the middle. And because it's a circular/ovular stadium, it does make for some weird sight lines onto the field. You probably noticed on the broadcast, it felt like the seats were far away. They kind of are. I don't think it was necessarily hard to see anything going on the field, but we were definitely far away. And you could tell that on the broadcast, and I think you could kind of feel it in the stadium. It's just a weirder viewing experience being that far away from the field. But nonetheless, still a very nice stadium, a good host site for World Cup matches. Nice amenities, I will say, like the bathrooms are really nice. The food stands were very nice. Still mad at FIFA, not able to get a USA Women's World Cup scarf, but hopefully going to get one in Auckland when I go to the Portugal game. Maybe they'll have more if we win that Portugal game and get out of the group as the winners and go to Sydney, hoping for that. But a little disappointed in you, FIFA. You need to do better and make sure you're stocking the US scarves and much more numerous supply, because you have done this to me the past 2 World Cups where you just don't have enough of the novelties that I want. But anyway, let's talk about the game. I know it was disappointing for a lot of people. I know. I don't think it was as bad as some people want to make it out to be, though. I understand being disappointed the U.S. didn't win. I understand being disappointed that the U.S. was behind for a good portion of the game. These are not things that we're accustomed to the U.S. doing at a World Cup. But personally, and this is again what I felt and saw inside the stadium, the U.S. was very much in control of the game. We were just unable to capitalize on that control as much as we wanted. We had 11 corner kicks. I know we lost the possession battle, but when you look at the numbers, more than like 60% of Netherlands' passes were in their own half. More than half of our passes were in Netherlands' defensive half. So the bulk of the play was happening in Netherlands' half. And to me, that just, again, signifies that we're able to kind of control games. But like I said, we weren't able to capitalize that. I want to say I don't think their goal was lucky. We kind of came out in the first half and put some pressure on them. I liked that we were trying to attack them 1v1 on the dribble early on. Obviously we weren't fully working as a team, which is nothing new for this Vlatko coach team, but we were getting pressure on their back line. The problem was that, again, we just weren't capitalizing on it. We weren't really working together to take advantage of the opportunities that the individuals created. And Netherlands got a goal because of a series of unfortunate events for the U.S. So first, you have Andy Sullivan not winning her challenge in the midfield, but also in not winning the challenge on, I want to say it was Lika Martens, I forget exactly who it was. But not getting that challenge, she also basically ran into Savannah DeMello, who then was unable to recover and try to track down the runner attacking with the ball. So you had an undefended runner coming at the back line. Both center backs kind of just dropped off a little bit. And the ball out wide to our left side, Crystal Dunn slips. So she's not able to fully defend that. They get a cross in. It's not very good, but we're not able to fully get a good clearance on it. And it goes straight to a Netherlands player. They get a pass, and the problem is we've recovered defensively too far into our 18. Lindsay Horanen is not able to get up to pressure the shot quick enough. The shot goes through her legs. I think it goes through Ert's legs, and it goes past Nair into the far corner. And it was a perfect shot, but it was just the perfect kind of set of circumstances that went right for Netherlands for them to get that goal. They never really were able to replicate that, even through some of their, counterattacks. But it was the only real time they created anything, and they scored. And that's really, really unfortunate for the U.S. It's deeply disheartening, too, because, again, we were controlling the overall flow of the game. And for Netherlands to get really one opportunity after we had created a couple before this was quite frustrating. I did like that we tried to respond quickly. We saw Trinity Rodman off the kickoff take on some players and take a shot from the top of the box that forced a save from the Dutch goalkeeper. But again, nothing really came from it after that, and really didn't really come until that second half when we did change out Rose Lavelle for Savannah DeMello. It became apparent to me during the second half, that we were a team that was going to struggle to score, but goals were coming. And that was kind of the frustrating thing for me, was that you could see us creating chances. You could see us trying to make goals happen. Unfortunately, I think we were not fully engaged with each other. And that, again, just is the way this team operates, it seems, right now. They're not fully cooperating and fully synergized, because you saw a lot of individual efforts. Even some of the, attempted cutback crosses, it just wasn't really working for anything, even though we were getting in good spots, both with the ball and without the ball. Finally, though, we get a Lindsey Horan goal. She gets fouled by Van de Donk. Then there's a little scuffle going on in the box. After that, the referee has to tell everyone to play nice and get along. And Lindsey Horan decides that instead of playing nice and getting along, she'll score. And she does off a corner kick, the only corner kick we've scored on this World Cup, even though we have 20 corner kicks. Horan with a great header. And at that point, I really thought we were going to win. And honestly, we could have. When you look at what Netherlands actually did defensively, they had 7 blocks and 42 clearances. A couple of those blocks were goals saved off the line that the U.S. was going to score. There was one off a corner kick that I think was a volley from outside the area that I forget who saved it off the line, but it was a volley across from one side to the far post and headed away. If it's 6 inches higher, it's probably a goal. And the other one was, I forget again who saved it from the Dutch, but a quick hit. I want to say it was Smith, who, it wasn't a full shot, but it was an attempted shot at goal. It was saved off the line again. And so the U.S. multiple times denied on the goal line by the Dutch. It just, again, I think people are overreacting to what was ultimately a pretty decent day. Again, 11 corners, 18 total shots, 4 of those on target, 12 shots total inside the box. It was, from that statistical standpoint, a dominant performance. Now, I understand that the Netherlands had more passes, they had better possession, but they didn't really create anything out of it. And the U.S. was just, again, not working together enough to take advantage of the opportunities they created for themselves. And that is the concern after this game, is, again, same with the Vietnam game, we didn't really put our feet on their neck and stomp down when we had the chance. We just kind of kept going after it, but without any real conviction, it felt. And that is frustrating. And I get that. I get that that's disappointing. I get that you want this team to have that killer instinct. And we all do, but it's hard to just turn that on if it's not really working for you. And so that's where I do think that the criticisms of Vlatko are valid, in the sense that he hasn't really done anything to get those instincts out of these players. Let's talk about the substitution issue. So, that Vlatko is under a lot of pressure because the results have not been great for this team for going on a year, especially against top quality competition. He subs on Rose Lavelle at halftime for Savannah DeMello. We know that Rose is really only about 45 minutes fit. The problem is the player who needed to be taken off was Andy Sullivan. And I'm sorry, but she was not helpful to our team the entire time. She was bad defensively. She was not helpful in possession. She was, I think, our worst rated player, field player, but she didn't really do enough to help our attack move quicker. And this is a problem that I think Vlatko needs to address. But we'll talk about that in a second. So he brings on Lavelle for DeMello. I thought DeMello was pretty good. I would not have brought her off. I actually think that you could have kept her on, taken Sullivan off, and put Horan more at that defensive position. But anyway, then you don't see another substitute for the U.S. the rest of the game. And that is kind of unacceptable from Vlatko, because you saw these players chasing a goal. They were really pushing it, but you could tell that they needed something fresher. I really think that bringing on either Alyssa Thompson or Lynn Williams for Trinity Rodman, who wasn't great, would have provided us that extra gear that we needed in that second half to really get after the Netherlands team. And especially, a player like Lynn Williams, who has a nose for goal, who creates chances for herself a lot. I think she could have been a secret to this. The other option, and I don't know why Vlatko is insistent on doing this, but Andy Sullivan, again, she's just not getting the job done. You could have subbed on Cook for Sullivan, moved Ertz into the midfield, and then you have Ertz's urgency and tenacity in midfield, which both helps you defensively for the cover, so that allows, Lavelle and Horan to do more good work. But it also is something she brings to the attack, where she is quick to try to find passes. And to me, that's something that Julie Ertz does better than Sullivan, is she's just very quick to get the ball off her foot, turn upfield, and try to find a pass. I don't think that there's a whole lot of other changes you could have made. I don't know if you would have brought on Sanchez. I don't think that would have helped anything. But I do think that Williams or Thompson would have been a good sub for either Rodman or Smith, or maybe even Morgan, because none of those three were really that effective in front of goal. Alex was good, but overall they just weren't fantastic, and they're gonna have to improve their play if the U.S. is going to win this group, because we're going to have to score a lot of goals against Portugal. But yeah, I think Vlatko deserves tons of criticism for not substituting his players. I think his excuse of, it would have taken them a minute to integrate is bullshit, to be quite honest. I don't think that's a very valid reason. It always takes that. Netherlands had no problem making their subs. And it's really one of those things of like, well, yeah, but I know that you think they're going to take a minute to integrate, but at the same time, they're going to bring on fresh legs. They're going to bring on a fresh mentality, where they're hungry and they have the legs to back it up. And that would have really benefited the team. So criticize Vlatko because he got it wrong. And I also think he's getting a couple of things wrong from a management standpoint. Again, I think he's looking at Ertz as a great center back, which she is, probably a better center back than Alana Cook, and saying that's the defensive player we need. And I don't think he's wrong. The problem is that leaves Andy Sullivan on the field, and the reality is Andy Sullivan is not a difference maker at the international level. She barely is good enough, in my opinion, to help this team be a good team, let alone a great team. And I think if you just put Cook in the back line and moved Ertz to midfield, you would see a noticeable change in the tempo at which this U.S. team plays, and also their ability to better counter and recover the ball than even we've seen, which has been pretty good. But but I think Ertz just gives us so much more in terms of urgency and in terms of tenacity that I think we need that in our midfield right now. However, it's not all bad, and I just want people to realize that. We have created 5.6 XG, which is right now 5th most in the tournament, but that's also behind, a team like Spain and Japan who have played crappy teams. It's behind Sweden that just put up, a bunch of goals against Italy. It's not like we're terrible, right? We've been doing enough. Unfortunately, right now, what you're looking at is the fact that an Alex Morgan penalty kick is kind of coming back to hurt us now in the goal differential equation. If Alex hits that, hopefully we win totally, 4-0 against Vietnam. You're now at a +4 goal differential, where Netherlands is only at +1. You've scored 5 goals, they've scored 2. So you've got a good advantage going into the final game, where Netherlands would have to beat Vietnam by a total of 3 to 4 goals more than you beat Portugal. So you still have to like your chances here, because also the U.S. has allowed only 0.4 expected goals against, which is the 3rd fewest. Now, that is coming up against teams that, in the Netherlands, which hasn't created a whole lot, and Vietnam, who also hasn't created a whole lot. But, you look at who's below us, it's Germany and Japan. So defensively, we're controlling teams' attacks. Portugal has done a good job on their XG. A lot of that, again, was against Vietnam. But the U.S. should be able to control the Portuguese attack. The problem is, are you going to score? Because I think right now, the problem we have is we're creating a lot of chances. We're creating some good chances, but we're not creating enough high-quality chances. If we can do that, if we can get our players in better positions in and around the box, and if they can focus a little bit more, get their heads on a little bit, more straighter, I think this team has a multi-goal win against Portugal in them. And I don't think it's likely that the Netherlands scores enough goals against Vietnam to counterbalance our goal differential. And that's where you're at right now. Yes, you would have liked to have beat the Netherlands, so this Portugal game is almost a moot point. But you still control your destiny. You still control the path to winning the group. Again, you are at 4 points. You've scored 4 goals. You have only conceded 1. And you have a goal differential right now of +3. Netherlands at +1. So they have to figure out a way to outscore you by 2. But also hope that, they've conceded a goal. They can't concede anything. They've also not created a whole lot of opportunities for themselves. They have 2.1 XG over the tournament. So, you have the advantages going into the final game. You just need to make sure you're beating Portugal by 2 or more goals. That sounds really tough. It probably will be tough. Portugal is a very good defensive team. But it's very possible. It's very possible to go out there and beat Portugal 3-0. Again, this team needs to create high-quality chances, which they're not doing enough of. But if they do, I think you'll see a multi-goal win against Portugal, and I think it'll be enough to keep Netherlands from catching them with whatever they beat Vietnam by. Again, if Netherlands beats Vietnam, let's say they beat them 3-0, right? If they beat Vietnam 3-0, they're on 7 points. They have a +4 goal differential. They've scored 5 goals. Okay, well, now you're looking at the U.S. needing to get really just a 1-goal win over Portugal. Hopefully you can get 2. Again, you get 2 goals against Portugal. You get a 2-0 win. I really like our chances to win the group. And that's got to be your mindset. Go get a win. Go get 2 goals. But I just want to circle back and say that was a very fun match day for me. It was very fun to party in Wellington with all of my friends. And again, such a fun privilege to watch the U.S. play in a World Cup. So I'm thankful and I'm blessed. Remember, if you want to follow the show on Twitter, go to @SoccerForUsPod. And if you want to support the show and my travels down here in New Zealand and Australia, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/SoccerForUsPod. Also, don't forget to subscribe to Soccer Down Here for every episode of Soccer for Us and all the rest of the SDH content. Thanks for listening. I'm Bart. I'm out.